Hi, this is Erica Devins with the Chamber Orchestra of the Springs, and here's your Lullaby to the Moon second violin lesson. So the first thing I want to mention on this one is regarding the phrasing. So it's important to know where the music is going. In this piece, the first major place after we are going to start at 25 happens at square 33. So there's an 8-measure phrase there. That means that everything that's happening before that, we need to keep in mind what is happening and where it's going into square 33. So to begin with, we're playing open G for several measures, right? Now you may be thinking, open G, blah, that's all we've got. But it's very, very important to make that open G as beautiful as an open G can be. So we're going to make sure that we're using plenty of left hand with all of those open Gs. Now you may be thinking to yourself, what do you mean? How am I going to use my left hand? Well, what you're going to do is vibrato on the G an octave above the open G. That will give it a little bit of a vibrato sound. So let me play it for you without the vibrato, and then I'll play it for you with, and we'll go on to phrase at 25 through 33. Oh, sorry, I'm going to play it for you without. Okay, so it sounds a little bit boring, right? But we can make it a little bit juicy if we give a little bit of left hand on the G that's on the D string, right? Here we go. Now remember, we are still piano at this point, so we don't want to get too far away from the fingerboard when we're playing these piano Gs, right? Where we stopped measure 29. And make sure you start vibratoing before you play the note. Very, very important. Here we go. So to make that crescendo happen, all that I'm doing is moving my bow during the crescendo a little bit further away from the fingerboard, and I'm also probably speeding up my bow just a little bit. But remember, it's only mezzo piano, so we don't want to do too much of those things, just a tiny bit in order to achieve the crescendo of piano to mezzo forte. So here's measure before square 33. To vibrato. And this is a good time to mention the shorter sort of phrasings that are happening between the half-halves wholes, right? You have this whole motive of half-half whole throughout this piece, and each time it's important to lead towards the whole, right? You want to lean on it when you get to it just a tiny bit, and that'll help you to achieve those smaller sort of phrasing things, right? Here is the crescendo again, measure before square 33. 3, 4. Okay, so here we have a lift in measure 36. Make sure you don't lift too much because we don't want to go all the way back to the frog. We just want to lift a little bit. We want to stay probably in the middle because remember, we're still mezzo piano. And also don't forget the fourth finger. Very important. You don't want to hear the open A on that second note that's supposed to be kind of really sweet and mezzo piano. So here we are, the measure 36, 3, 4. Well, let me show you the lift right before that. So here's 35. Ready, and Don't go too far to the frog when you do the lift. Just a little lift. Stay in the middle. And going from the F sharp to the F natural, you're just going to move your second finger from F sharp and just scoot it to F natural, right? So there's really no other movement. There's no lifting off, really. You just go from here to here. Just scoot it back. And make sure to vibrato as much as you can. Not necessarily a very fast vibrato, but make sure your vibrato is staying very consistent. All right, so here we go, measure 36. Ready, and, sorry, 1, 2, ready, and 1. Still a very slow bow. Move your first finger back. Here's a crescendo. Remember, we're only mezzo forte. And here you want to listen to the cellos because they have the moving line. Here's a crescendo. Move away from the fingerboard. Here's a rest and 1. Okay, so right here, excuse me, right here we do have a forte starting up bow with some accents. So do make sure that you put a little bit of weight on the bow at the beginnings of those notes to achieve those forte accents. But also during the tremolo, be careful not to play it too loud and listen to what else is going on in the orchestra on your click track, in this case, if you're practicing with your click track. Then notice that at measure 48, it says broad bows, and it also says non-divisi. So basically, you're going to make those much longer, but probably with a tiny bit of separation. And you're going to be playing both the A string and the D string at the same time, right? So don't freak out. It's really not that big a deal. Just all you have to do is take note of which notes are going to change and keep that in mind, right? So so it's really just D to A, the third finger D to the open A with an open D string, right? No biggie. So, but make sure you hold back a little bit because we do need to crescendo over 2 measures from forte to fortissimo. So what you're going to do is at 46, after you play those 2 measures of after the tremolo, you're going to want to just kind of start those double stops with keeping in mind that you have a little bit of time and you also have a little ways to go in order to make the crescendo. You have 2 whole measures and then you're going to be fortissimo. So really, as you're making the crescendo, try to keep that in mind. Also, keep in mind to move your bow closer to the bridge as you get closer to the fortissimo, so that it's a very gradual over those 2 measures type of deal that's happening, right? So here we go at 46. 1. A retard right there as well, and then an a tempo at 50. So keep in mind that your bows are going to get longer, also that it's going to slow a little bit going into 50. So here's the broad bows part, non-divisi, play both notes, right? That is measure 48. Here we go. Notice these ones are a little bit shorter, right? They're still more broad than before. As far as eighth notes are concerned, I guess we haven't really had any eighth notes yet in this, but they're going to have a little bit more separation at the beginning of those 2 measures than at the end. Here we go, measure 48, ready, and go. separation toward the end. Here is 50, or let's play that again and going into 50. Okay, so here it seems like it's a little repetitive, but it really isn't. The first two measures are the same, but then going into that where the chord changes at 52, you want to put a little emphasis on that note too, just to emphasize that something is changing, right? So here we are, 50, square 50, and remember right here, you're going to have to slow your bow down a little because we're used to playing eighth notes for all of those measures. And then we come to a half note, a couple of half notes, and that again, half, half, whole sort of motive, right? And remember with the half, half, whole motive, we're going to lean on the whole note a little bit each time. So here is, let's just do measure 53. And slow bow. And even slower bow at 57, right? And here's the solo, and it's mezzo piano. Lean into that one a little bit. Decrescendo, more over the fingerboard, and as soft as you can play. And there you have it.